What is going on, y'all? Robert Sykes, KetoSavage.com, coming at you with week 15 of the Reverse Diet Vlog Update Series. So let's dive right into the spreadsheet here. My weight was holding very steady the entire week long. I was pretty much started the week at 175.7, and I pretty much stayed around that the whole time. 174.9, 176.2, 175, 175. So the average for the week was 175.6. So pretty much holding that super steady. The goal macros going into the week were 330 fat, 230 protein, and 20 total carbs. But I was pretty much basically just simplifying things and pulling out 2 sleeves of frozen lamb and having 2 sleeves a day. And 2 sleeves wound up being like 43 ounces on average. So that was where the additional fat and protein macros came from here. I just kind of wanted to see how my body would respond to that. So the intake for the week was pretty much a Nootropics Keto Brains coffee creamer in the morning. I'd have a Bell's Brownie Brick in the afternoon or in the morning after I trained. And then I would have 40 to 43 ounces of ground lamb in the evening. That was pretty much all I had except for 2 days. And my weight held very stable. 2 days, I had higher intake. On Tuesday, I believe, let's see here, my fat intake was 350, but my protein was much higher at 448. Had a bunch of carnivore snacks, chicken sliders, and carnivore bars that day. And then on Wednesday, we had a gathering at our place. We cooked up a bunch of food, actually cooked a roast leg of lamb, and had a ton of that. I had like 3 pounds of that. And then also had some stuffed mushrooms, jalapeno poppers. Actually, I've got that pulled up right now. So that was on the 28th, I believe. So yeah, I got the Bell's Brownie Batter Keto Brick. Had some coffee with some heavy cream that day. And then I had all this food here. So 44.3 ounces of lamb with some suet that I had it wrapped in, or some caul fat technically. We made some deviled eggs with Primal Kitchen mayo, so I had that. Had some bacon-wrapped jalapeno poppers, some stuffed mushrooms, and then I went to town on some keto cheesecake that Crystal made. She doesn't make that very often, so she made it for that gathering, and I had several slices of that. So my macros that day on Wednesday were quite a bit higher, 539 on the fat, 323 on the protein, 60 on total carbs with that keto cheesecake. So that put my calories at about 6383. With that high calorie day, my weight actually dropped the next day. It went down from 176.2 to 175. So pretty much just staying right at that 175 pound region, which is kind of what I've been wanting to hold. So I'm very happy to see that. With the higher intake day, and then just the higher intake kind of defaulting from those being 43 ounces of lamb instead of 40 ounces of lamb, my average intake for the week was about 4,600 calories a day. So for me to be able to maintain 175 at 4,600 calories is really promising. I like that. I also opted for the higher fat ratio this week. Lamb, at least the lamb that I have, is very fatty, and I'm consuming all of that fat. So my fat ratio is about 73% this week, between 73 and 75% each day, depending on what I ate. That high protein day kind of threw things off a little bit, but generally speaking, it was about a 75% fat ratio. And that is what I find to be much more satiating than a significantly higher protein ratio. There's a lot of debate right now as to what is the main driver for satiety. And yes, you do get a lot more food volume when you consume, if calories are equated for, much more protein relative to fat, but I have found the fats to be much more satiating. Obviously, if it's paired with a protein, you don't want to just be consuming pure fat from a satiety factor. But the fattier ratios, north of 70% of my total calories coming from fat is generally much more satiating for me at this stage of my reverse than if those were flopped and it was significantly higher in protein. So that is something worth noting there. As far as the overall outlook on this goes, the fact that I'm holding steady at 175 while consuming that many calories, like I said, is very promising. That ensures to me that my metabolic rate is freaking revving up on all 8 cylinders. My body is trying to stay at 175 right now, which is good. It's promising because that's kind of like where my homeostatic set point is shaking out to be right now, which means if I drop my calories a little bit lower or go a bit above that, my body's going to kind of fight to stay at that 175 pound region, which is exactly where I want it to stay, which is good. That said, what I'm probably going to be doing for the next few weeks, kind of as I alluded to in the prior video, is with this whole beyond phase, like baseline and beyond, I want this to be incredibly sustainable. Sustainability is the key with any dietary protocol, and that is definitely true with this reverse and building phase within the realms of a ketogenic diet as well. So up to this point, I've been pretty much eating the same foods. I make ground beef, ground lamb, ground venison my base, and then I'll have a Keto Brick every single day, and then I'll have, some eggs, something that is pretty much built from that base. And that's honestly kind of what I default to. It's easy. I've got a whole bunch of frozen meat in the freezer, so it works out well for me. However, that's not always what Crystal and Rigel are eating. And there is something to be said for, we have dinner together as a family, but like Crystal likes cooking for the family. So what I'd like to do to make this more sustainable, not necessarily for me because this is totally sustainable for me, but to make it resonate more with y'all who are likely eating the same meals as your family, I'm going to start incorporating a little bit more variety in the coming weeks to round out this reverse. And the way I'm going to structure that is, rather than simply having a ground meat and eggs and a Keto Brick every single day, I'm going to basically let Crystal cook as she would desire to cook for the family, and then have certain minimums that I'm trying to meet and certain parameters that I want to stick within. So I'm going to basically say, okay, look, I want to target 200 grams of protein a day at least, and then I want to be around 4,000 to 4,500 calories, okay? Somewhere in that ballpark. And then she'll basically, whatever she's craving that night as a meal, we'll just cook enough for the family, and I'll have that. So, one night I might be having keto tacos, one night might be keto chili, one night maybe like a pork rind nachos, maybe steaks. So it's going to be mixed up a little bit, but I think that would do well from an illustrative purpose, from an illustrative standpoint, to kind of resonate more with y'all who are likely going to be eating a bit more food variety than I tend to. Plus, I'm curious to see if I'm sticking within those parameters, what my weight does, how my body handles more food variety. I might start incorporating a little bit more vegetation. We may have a big salad one day. I literally have not had a salad in a year, so I don't even know what my body's going to do to that. These jalapeno poppers that I had on Wednesday was the first time I've had a vegetable in probably a year. So I'm kind of curious to see what my body does with those adjustments. So the future weeks will be showcasing more food variety, again, targeting a specific minimum requirement of protein, and then ideally sticking within that north of 75% of my calories coming from fat ratio, and then somewhere between 4,000 and likely 4,500, 4,600 calories. So somewhere in that ballpark there. So that's what the next several weeks are going to look like, tentatively speaking. Go ahead and show y'all my pictures. So these pictures were taken on February the 26th. Again, that was at a body weight of 175.7. So let's just go through some of these here. Still got the vascularity in the arms, still got the cuts in the legs, definitely a little bit more blocky in the midsection, but that is definitely to be expected at this stage. Still have quite a bit of separation in the quads, though, and feathering in the teardrops. So I don't want to see that go, and I honestly don't think I will. I'm probably at about 9% body fat right now would be my guess, 8 or 9% body fat, and I don't really want to exceed 12%, even in the depth of this building phase. But I'm definitely filling out right now. Like you can see, my shoulder caps are just more volumized. My arms are bigger. I still have quite a bit of definition in my legs, so I'm very excited about that. But everything's just bigger, like I fill out my shirts more. I like the way I look in a t-shirt more now than when I'm at the depth of a prep. I like the way I look shirtless more at the depth of a prep because I don't have that. I've got a lot more definition in my midsection, obviously. My abs aren't as pronounced right now. But I look much more filled out. I am more filled out. But I still have a pretty solid degree of definition throughout all the different musculature regions here. Like you still see quite a bit of separation in the tricep on the back double bicep pose. Still have some rippling there in the lower back, but not nearly as pronounced a Christmas tree as obviously when I'm much leaner. So feeling pretty good about how I'm looking, feeling great about how I'm feeling. I don't have any sensations of depleted, like feeling depleted at all. That's all totally gone. I've got energy to do other things. Like I come home, I work on the farm. I just have more energy for Rigel and just for doing things around the house. So I feel better there. Yeah, this is like a totally sustainable composition for me, totally sustainable food intake for me. My relationship with food is good. Everything's good. So I feel really good about all my markers right now. My lifts are continually going up every single week. Like today, for instance, I hit 5 plates for 2 on sumo deadlifts. I was hitting some weight last week that I hadn't hit since way before the prep. So feel really good about where all the strength markers are moving. Feel really good about my relationship with food right now. I'm excited to see how my body responds to the variety in food going forward, and I'll be sure and showcase that to y'all with the next video. So that said, thank y'all so much for tuning in. Appreciate y'all sticking with me throughout this reverse. We will talk to you next time.